Hi, this is Macbeth, Act 2, Scene 2. Things are bad, all right? Creepy and exciting and good and evil. We are at the end of at the end of Scene 1, if you remember. We saw that Macbeth was just heard the bell and was about to go and murder the king. The worst thing someone could do in this time. And what's interesting here in scene 2 is it doesn't change the setting. We don't follow him to the bedroom to watch him kill Duncan like it would happen in any modern movie where you'd want to see it. Shakespeare leaves that really important action, the most important action of the whole play, the murder of Duncan, off stage. That's something that we'll talk about. I want you to think about why he would do that. So instead of following Macbeth to see him actually commit the murder, the camera basically, the stage stays in that courtyard where he was, and as soon as he leaves, Lady Macbeth comes on stage, and now we see her in that courtyard, and she's wondering and what's going on and waiting for him to come back. Okay, and so this is a tense scene where Lady Macbeth is well. Let's see. Let's take a look. All right. So the first thing she says is, that which hath made them drunk hath made me bold. So she must have drank some of the wine that she gave to the guards to knock them out, to kind of fortify herself, make her feel a little stronger. Okay. And what it's done is it has given her fire. It says that right there. All right. It has given me fire. That's good. Okay. Then she says, hark. Hark means like, listen, what was that? So there's all these sounds in this scene that I'll have you track maybe. And here she says, what was that sound? Oh, it was the owl that shrieked. The fatal bellman, which gives the sternest good night. Owl's shrieks, the cry of an owl for a long time was thought to be an omen of death. So when she says, oh, right, that makes sense. The owl just cried. That means it's the sternest good night, the final good night that you could give somebody. Okay? He is about it. What do you think that means? That's not about the owl anymore. This is about Macbeth, because now she knows what he's doing. He's committing the actual murder. Okay? The doors are open. We're here. Okay, so she must have left the door to Duncan's room open for him after she set it all up. And the surfeited grooms do mock their charge with snores. Their charge means their job. So she's kind of making fun of them for mocking their job, like disrespecting it by just snoring instead of guarding the king. She says, I have drugged their possets, that death and nature do contend about them, whether they live or die. So now it's clear that instead of just giving them a lot of wine, she actually drugged their wine and put something in it to really knock them out, that they are almost dead, just to be safe, I guess. Okay, so there's that. So this is her on stage talking to herself. What does her state of mind seem to be? Is she calm? Is she nervous? You tell me. Then we get Macbeth. Within means he's kind of off stage. So we just hear his voice saying, who's there? What? Oh. Okay. So we hear him kind of freaking out already a little bit more. Now Lady Macbeth says, alack, I am afraid they have awaked, and 'tis not done. The attempt and not the deed confounds us. If it was just the attempt that happened now and not the actual deed, meaning if they failed in their attempt to kill Duncan, that would be the end of them. They'd be done for. Hark. Again, a sound, another sound. We don't know what it was yet, but she heard something. I laid their daggers ready. He could not miss them. So she's wondering, did he screw up? No, I laid it all out for him. So easy. Now we get a very interesting line right here. Had he not resembled my father as he slept, I had done it. All right, who's she talking about here with that he? That's Duncan. Now, why is this so important? This is something that Shakespeare does to his characters that is part of what makes him so great, part of what makes his characters so believable, part of what makes us want to watch these plays. What it is this is really the first time that we've ever seen Lady Macbeth or heard her say something that makes her seem kind of human, kind of like a sympathetic character. She has a father, and she's saying the only reason that she didn't kill Duncan is because he kind of looks like her dad. So, does that make you feel bad for Lady Macbeth? Probably not, but at least it kind of makes her feel like she does have some, um, conscience, I guess. Okay. So there's the end of Lady Macbeth alone on stage. Here comes Macbeth holding bloody daggers. And she realizes it's him. She asks, "My husband, is it you?" And he says, "I have done the deed. Didst thou not hear a noise?" Okay. He's worried. "Did you hear something?" She says, "I heard the owl scream and the crickets cry. Did you not speak? Didn't you say something too?" Because you did. Now look at these lines. How this actually is still iambic pentameter. "Did you not speak when now as I descended?" But it's all chopped up. "Did you not speak when now as I descended?" So you'll see on film and on stage, this is usually really fast because they're all freaked out. Okay? "Aye, yes. Hark. There again, he heard another sound. What was it?" Something interesting about this is usually in film versions and on stage, they'll put a clap of thunder here so that we know what he's saying hark to. But that kind of ruins it because the real point of what's happening to Macbeth is what is he actually hearing? Was there a sound there? There's nothing in here that shows a sound, okay? So really, in this moment right here is another example, just like in the dagger scene, of Macbeth hallucinating, not just with his eyes now, but with his ears. He heard something that wasn't there. Then he asks, "Who lies in the second chamber?" That means like the next room next to Duncan. And the answer is Donalbain. That's, remember, Duncan's younger son. All right. Then Macbeth says, "This is a sorry sight." What do you think he's looking at when he says, "This is a sorry sight"? Remember, he's holding those bloody daggers. Yeah. And now look at her response. That's a dumb thing to say. A foolish thought to say, "a sorry sight." Like, what's the point of even saying that right now? Now we hear what Macbeth was hearing as he committed the murder. There, in that second room where Donalbain is sleeping, one did laugh in his sleep. So he heard one person laughing in his sleep, that's creepy, and one person who cried out murder. Well, that's also creepy. That they did wake each other up. I stood and heard them, but they did say their prayers and addressed them again to sleep. So we heard somebody laugh, somebody wake up saying murder, they talked to each other, said their prayers again, went back to sleep. Lady Macbeth is trying to calm him down, saying, "There's two people sleeping in there. There's Donalbain and his guard or his servant or whatever." Okay, so she's like, "That's no big deal." And he says, "No. One cried, 'God bless us,' and amen the other." God bless us was something that people in Shakespeare's time would say to defend themselves against witchcraft and evil. Okay, and if somebody said "God bless us," you had to say "Amen" to kind of solidify the blessing and ward yourself off from witchcraft and evil. Okay, and then look at this part. He says, "As they had seen me with these hangmen's hands, listening their fear." So he's like saying it's as if they saw me with these hangman's hands saying that "God bless us, amen" stuff. Okay, now when he says hangman's hands, the hangman in this time didn't just do the noose for when somebody was hanged. If somebody committed treason, which Macbeth just did, or even worse really, the hangman's job was to chop up their bodies. Sorry, that's gross, but that's what happened. So the point of me telling you that is because this language would have created a very vivid image in the minds of any person in the audience of Shakespeare's time to know what he meant when he said these hangman's hands. Okay, so Beth now interestingly says, "I could not say amen when they said God bless us." Okay, he couldn't say it. Lady Macbeth says, "Don't worry about it. Consider it not so deeply. Don't think about that." And he says, "No, but wherefore," which if you remember Romeo and Juliet means why could I not pronounce amen? I had most need of blessing. I needed the blessing against the evil, but amen got stuck in my throat. So of course, why couldn't he say amen? Well, he's already made a deal with the devil. He's already committed murder. He's killed the king. He's done the worst thing ever. He's gone from good. So he couldn't actually say it. It got stuck in his throat. This feels like some, belief in some good or God or, supernatural powers that are keeping him from being able to protect himself from evil, because now he has no protection against evil. He's in it. Lady Macbeth doesn't have time for that stuff. She says, "These deeds must not be thought after these ways. So if we do, it will make us mad." There's several levels of irony to that, some of which will come later. One of which is that we've already seen Macbeth behave in a way that you could call mad, meaning insane. What did he do that was kind of crazy? Yeah, he imagined there was a dagger in front of him in the previous scene. He hallucinated and tried to grab it, and it was floating in the air in front of him. He's kind of already getting there. All right, Lady Macbeth? We'll see. Macbeth continues. Methought, meaning I thought I heard a voice cry, "Sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep." He imagined he heard somebody say those words. Now he reflects on it. The innocent sleep. It's an important idea in this play. Sleep. That, look at this, 3 times the word right there. Sleep that knits up the raveled sleeve of care. The death of each day's life. That's what sleep is, isn't it? Sore labor's bath. Balm of hurt minds, great nature's second course, chief nourisher in life's feast. He's reflecting on how important sleep is. Sleep does all these things, doesn't it? Really important. If you don't sleep for a while, and I know some of you have done this, you start to lose your mind. You start to feel like you can't tell which way is up anymore if you really go for a long time without sleep. Our bodies and brains need it. Now he's going on and on like this that she says in pretty plain English, "What do you mean?" Like she can't even follow him right here. That shows us how weird he's being. She's like, "What are you even talking about?" Okay. Now he continues. Still, it cried. Whoops. It cried. That's what I wanted. "Sleep no more to all the house. Glamis hath murdered sleep." Remember, that's his old title. "And therefore Cawdor," that's who he is now, "shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more." Ooh, that would be bad. All right. Let's keep going. Lady Macbeth says, "Well, who said that? What are you talking about?" And then she's like, "No, worthy Thane, hey, you do unbend your noble strength to think so brain sickly of things." That's a great word, brain sickly. All right, go get some water. Now she's trying to like get him to just be rational and reasonable, and it's time. Remember, she's the one who acts and he's always thinking. So right now he's thinking all this stuff, and she's like, "Hey, listen, you need to go get some water. You need to wash this filthy witness from your hand." What's the witness on his hand? The blood on his hands. And then she notices how he screwed up the plan. What did he screw up? Right here. "Why'd you bring the daggers from the place? They must lie there. They were supposed to stay in the room. Go carry them and smear the sleepy grooms with blood. You were supposed to spread the blood on those guards so that they look like they committed the murder." Right, so she sends him back. Here's one of the few times where Macbeth says no to his wife so far in the play. "No," he says, "I'll go no more. I'm not going back there. Here's the reason, pretty plain. I am afraid to think what I have done. Look on it again, I dare not." He's like, "No, I can't. I can't go back in that room." Okay? Now she kind of curses him. "Oh, you infirm of purpose." What's she calling him there? Weak. "Give me the daggers. I'll do it." Why? "The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures." It's just what they look like. It's just a picture thing. It's just a visual. It doesn't matter. It's the eye of childhood that fears a painted devil. You're being a baby. If he do bleed, if he has blood, I'll gild the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their guilt. There's a little pun here on the word gild and guilt. Gild means cover in gold, and in old songs, gold was described as red for some reason. So this works for Shakespeare's time more than it works for our time, but they would have gotten that little weird dark joke. Okay, but the point is, she goes with the daggers. She mocks him, and she goes to put them back on the grooms. Okay, now we hear a knocking. Now this knocking is going to be more important in the next scene, which I'll save for the next video. Okay, so somebody is knocking now. Is that a real knocking or not? I guess we're not sure, but Macbeth hears it, and he says, "Whence?" Meaning from where is that knocking? This is actually a really important point about this knocking, because they just did something really awful. And so the knocking is going to represent something, I think. And I'll probably make you guys read something about this. About as soon as he commits this act, we start hearing this knocking. So he says, "What is that?" And he starts to freak out. And then he says to himself, "Oh, how is it with me when every noise appalls me. It's like, why am I freaking out about every single noise? Just the knocking. But this also tells us that it's actually becoming the next morning and the night is over and the world is going to start waking up soon. What hands are here? He's looking at his own hands. What hands are here? Ha! A little crazy. They pluck out mine eyes. What should he be doing if you're playing Macbeth with that line? What hands are here? Ha! They pluck out mine eyes. It's pretty intense. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash the blood clean from my hand? Clearly this blood is becoming symbolic now, okay? His hands are still covered in blood. All right, and he's wondering, would the whole ocean ever be able to wash this blood off? And he thinks, no, they wouldn't. This my hand, instead, would rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red. This is an old fancy word for turning them red. Okay, so he thinks if he dipped his hand in the ocean, what would happen? Would his hand get clean? No, he thinks that that would turn the entire ocean red. Such is the power of the guilt of the blood on his hands. So we're starting to pick up on how this murder, this act, is now affecting Macbeth at this point. Okay. Sorry. Lady Macbeth comes back from the room where Duncan was sleeping, where she put the daggers. And now she says, my hands are of your color now. What color is that? That's red. But I shame to wear a heart so white. Ooh. Burn. What's she saying? She's like, look, my hands are bloody now too now, but I'm not shaking in my boots like you little baby. Nice Lady Macbeth. Okay. Then again, a knock is heard. Now she says, I hear a knocking. Okay, so it's a real knocking. All right, there is someone at the door. That's what the next scene is going to be. And again, think about what that represents. They just did this. The knocking starts. Okay. She says, hey, we have to retire to our chamber. We got to go back to our rooms. A little water clears us of this deed. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? This is going to take on a lot of irony as we continue reading the play. All we can need is a little water, and this thing never happened. How easy it is then, all right? Your constancy hath left you unattended. She's saying, you're losing it. You got to get your act together, okay? Okay, there's more knocking now, right there. So it just keeps going. You keep hearing it throughout the scene, which kind of is freaky. Hark, listen, more knocking. Get on your nightgown. They're still dressed in their clothes from the day before. They need to undress and then put on their nightgowns to make it look like they were in bed. All right, lest otherwise occasion call us and show us to be watchers. What if people wake up now? We have to look like we were sleeping. Okay, her advice to him again, be not lost so poorly in your thoughts. She can tell that he's just like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? He's freaking out. And she's like, hey, come on, let's go. And what does he say? To know my deed, 'twere best not know myself. Ooh, that's a good line. To know my deed, it would be best to not know myself. That tells us something. We hear a knocking again, and he says, oh, wake Duncan with thy knocking. I would thou couldst. Meaning, I wish that you, whoever's knocking, could wake Duncan with your knocking. What do we see here? For really the first time? That is remorse. That is guilt. Already, he just did it like a minute ago. And now he's like, ooh, I wish you could wake Duncan up. Well, then why'd you murder him in his sleep, you Macbeth? All right. Yeah, we will stop there. That is the end of scene 2. The murder has happened. Now the rest of the play is the consequence. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. I will see you later. Stop.